everyone, I'm your host Neha and you're tuned into Durian Dreaming, the show that brings you extraordinary stories from seemingly ordinary experiences in Indonesia's fast-paced market. Let's dive into today's conversation with another inspiring guest. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the new episode of Durian Dreaming. Today's episode is a special one. We've got someone who's been at the center of business, policy making, and power in Southeast Asia. Actually, this is one introduction which I should really read. So let's welcome our guest, Shaanti Shamdasani. She is the founder and CEO of ASEAN International Advocacy and Consultancy. She spent nearly 2 decades working across multinationals like Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and DHL, before going on to advise governments, institutions, and global companies on how to navigate ASEAN's complexity. She's also advised the Indonesian presidency during ASEAN chairmanship, chairs key trade and business councils, and is a regular voice in conversation shaping the region's economic future. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest Shaanti to the new episode of Durian Dreaming. Hi Shaanti, well, we're excited to have you with us.
Thank you, Neha, and good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, wherever you're watching this.
Hi, Shaanti. So, Shaanti, your resume is a very rich resume. You started your career with Pfizer, and then you moved across companies, and then finally into advising governments. So, when did you first feel that you weren't just following the system anymore? You were actually helping shape decisions.
My passion has always been geopolitics, and my grandfather was very close to Sukarno. We used to go to President Sukarno's house for lunches and dinners, and even Ibu Megawati, when she was a teenager, I was still a baby at that time. So we grew up in that politics area. Yusuf Kala used to be my neighbor as well in Sulawesi, and a lot of other politicians. So I grew up and I was my grandfather's favorite. He would take me to every diplomatic dinners, and so I learned a lot from that, and I think kind of just adopted from there. So that is how the whole government picture came. I still keep in touch with some of the friends from the political families. We are still close friends. So that is how we remain in that circle.
Power is very split, or if I can say, very fragmented between the business elites, between the elected government officials, between the bureaucrats. And you have seen both sides, the corporate side and the government. So tell me, where does real power actually sit today?
It's with the business. See, everywhere you go, government have to work with the business, right? Without economic growth, the governments cannot exist, because from economic growth, the governments can get taxes. From the taxes, the government actually do public services, right? That is the whole circle. So for economic growth, you need to have large businesses with you. At least the government needs to make sure that large businesses flourish and they support large businesses so that it can create employment and then economic growth and then social harmonies, balance, and all those things. So looking at this whole scenario, the power lies in the businesses side, actually.
Okay. I was studying this article which talked about the leadership behavior of women. And then and it said that we are often penalized of either being too assertive or too accommodating, which makes a very narrower acceptable leadership band. So early in your career, did you ever feel that you had to change the way you spoke or led to be taken seriously?
So my experience with women leadership is sometimes the worst enemy of a woman is another woman. Especially in corporate setting, the politics. And I was much younger at that time, of course, more pretty, and I carried this Indian looks, and I was working in different countries, and then I got promoted very quickly, like every 2-3 years of promotion, and then I was sent to Germany, I was sent to US. A lot of what basically refute came not from my male colleague, It was from my female colleague who was trying to tarnish my reputation, tarnish my name. And all I was doing was just working, doing my best, right? And I'm talking about corporate. Government is different. The leadership style in government is different. Corporate is different. In corporate, it's basically about fear. So the leadership is, if this women have a lot of male employees, there is this hidden fear that, okay, I'm a female, I need to overpower them, or I need to make sure they don't see me as a weak person. So to me, I've never been gender conscious. And for me as a professional, you should not have a gender in your professional world, right? I forget whether I'm a female, and I would just follow my style. This is how I lead. This is how I give instruction. This is how I run my meetings. This is what I expect from you. This is what you can come to me as your boss and talk openly. But this is the line. So I put a line there as well, because you need to as a leader. Otherwise, you can't lead, right? If there's no line, then it doesn't segregate you, right? The segregation is not for ego. The segregation is to make sure that there is a harmony and everybody understood where their place is, so that everybody can perform well, right? So that is what I sometimes feel, that a lot of time there is this hidden fear that, okay, I'm a woman, so I need to be more assertive in the corporate, yeah.
So in government affairs, is the glass ceiling real?
So for me, at least today, I don't see that there's a glass ceiling.
Okay.
I see, as a matter of fact, there's a warm welcome. There is an unspoken respect that this woman, and she's talking about geopolitics and national security and defense, they actually embrace you within that circle, because maybe they haven't seen a woman most of the times in that meetings, right? And they're very respectful with that. So in today's world, I don't see, when you're talking about glass ceiling, I don't see really a big issue. If any, the glass ceiling is actually in your mind. Most women, they restrict themselves in their mind, and they say, I have to behave in a certain way, speak in a certain way. To me, it's like, if you dare to dream, you will have it, right? And then, of course, the confidence is there, right? Once you have that confidence, you build that confidence, you will not see any glass ceiling, because you're talking out of knowledge, you're talking out of experience, right? But if you're not talking out of knowledge and experience, then that confidence won't be built, right? Then your mind will give you an excuse that, oh, it's a glass. To be quite honest, one of my toughest negotiation period was with India. It was during Minister of Finance Sitaraman. Oh boy, that was tough. Oh my God. But yeah.
What was it like?
It was like, she doesn't talk, right? She would sit and would say the bare minimum. But it was a good learning for me. I actually quietly learned a lot from her as well. So it was tough, but it was very, very impactful.
So, Shaanti, you're someone who sits at the intersection of business and government policies, right? You have a front row seat to Indonesia and global geopolitics. So let's talk about Indonesia. Yeah. So under President Prabowo, do you see the country continuing the same path as before, or is it entering a new chapter?
Every leader will bring their own color. Any country you go to, right? Depending on what the need of the country is at that. The way I see President Prabowo is managing, he appears soft on the outside, but he is one guy, I think, who really understands what needs to be done, when, how. And I think under his leadership, the world, I'm not just saying Indonesia, the world is not in a normal state of condition, right? There's a global crisis, the Iran war, Ukraine, Russia, and then China Belt and Road Initiatives, which has happened, that has really taken our lives so fast that sometimes we find it even hard to catch up. Data centers, all this digital transformation, so much green, sustainability, climate change. If you look at the leaders 30 years ago, they don't have all these issues. Their focus was just how to grow the economy so that everybody have jobs. Today's leaders needs to be a superhuman because it's not just about growing the economy, but it's about balancing all these things that is coming so fast, right? 30 years ago, the multilateral, bilateral, trilateral agreements wasn't there. So really putting everything that we are looking at today, the complications of the global situation, cross-border geopolitics, the sensitivity, one wrong touch could trigger something. At least this is what the situation of the leader is, right? They have to be very politically correct, right? I think a lot of people are confused looking at how he is managing the country, which makes sense. But if you have experience, you understand geopolitics, you understand diplomacy, or if you grew in the environment that I've grown up, I can make out what he's trying to sort. Before you plant anything, you just want to take the weeds out, right? So I think what he's doing is he's just cleaning it up first.
Okay. And what's your take on the Nadiem Makarim story that sparked huge debate? What do you think it tells us about how difficult really reform is in Indonesia?
Oh boy. Nadiem is a friend of mine. I've known him in several occasions. I wouldn't just single Nadiem out, right? But you can never tell just in single incident that the system is not working. There are a lot, like any other countries in the world, corruption in Indonesia, I admit, is growing. It's rampant, right? I'm not in that courtroom. I'm not the lawyer. I didn't follow. But my answer is we should not just make a decision just based on one case, right? Nadiem is one. And then there was this lady from Pertamina, Ira, which they also brought, right? But that was a separate case. So my take on Nadiem case is, I don't think so. Under President Prabowo, he would let an innocent, high-profile professional to get to this point. You got what I'm saying, right? Like, as a president, if he knew or if the process wasn't followed correctly, given Nadiem's profile, the founder of Gojek and so many supporters, he would have stepped in. He hasn't. I'm not saying he may not. I don't know. But I have seen in the past President Prabowo, I think he has stepped in on Tom Lembong's case, right? I think it was Tom Lembong in the past, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he stepped in because it was a clear-cut case at that time. But this is a very gray area in the sense, even people who follow the case thoroughly are now even confused.
But tell me, because of this Nadiem Makarim case and people leaning more towards in favor of Nadiem Makarim, at least the young professionals, has that dampened the enthusiasm of the young Indonesian professionals who were thinking to return back to Indonesia to start something here?
So I've spoken to a few of my friends whose kids studied abroad, right? And I asked, so he graduated, is he coming back? And she said no. So I asked him why he's not coming back, because it's not clear now. Whether it's the case, because of Nadiem's case, or it is because of the economic situation, or because the kid just wants to have a new experience working abroad. A lot of times from my experience, when I first graduated as well, I didn't want to return immediately. I wanted to spend a few years working abroad, right? So it could be that cases as well. Now what you need to see is the data of people going out of the country, giving up their citizenship and all that.
But as a geopolitical analyst, and I'm sure you have seen it and read other articles as well, there are a lot of talks about the investor sentiment here, or the investors' belief in the Indonesian economy is shaken up. And that has really dampened the startup ecosystem here. So first was e-fishery case, then the Nadiem Makarim case. What is your take on it?
Yeah, that one I must admit, the investors are on a wait and see mode. You are correct on that. But again, when you are cleaning the weed, you are sorting your house, the dust will be everywhere, right? And no one wants to enter the room when the dust is up in the air. Everybody wants to wait until the dust settles, the room is clean, then you enter. That's all I'm going to say for that. Right?
You are a very trained political person. I'm loving the way you're circumventing all the direct questions and still answering in some or the other way, but not to the point. Okay. Shanti, there's been a lot of discussions around Danantra. What do you think it's really trying to achieve?
So I've made a few analyses for Danantra. And so a couple of things. Indonesia's state-owned enterprises are huge. I think we have thousands SOEs. And every year, one or two SOEs, not one, quite a few of them are under loss, and the government have to inject fundings. Danantra is a concept which actually, it's a sovereign wealth fund concept, but I think it's more of like a capital investor doing the work of a capital investor, in the sense like it will take all the state-owned enterprise, analyze it, what is profitable, what I can grow, what I cannot grow. So Danantra is trying to reassess the years and years of state-owned enterprise, which amounts to thousands of companies, and trying to see what is profitable, what is not profitable, what I can grow, what cannot be grown, what needs to be closed, what needs to be. You need that, because Indonesia haven't done it in a long time. I think not ever, right? So you need that kind of scrutiny in that realm, right? Now, that's one part of it. The second part of it, every profit of the SOE goes to Danantra, right? And Danantra will find right investments to invest this profit so it can generate more income for the country, right? Now this part I'm not pretty clear, right? They say there's a lot of these investments. This part I've not worked on. I'm not pretty clear on this one. But with the meetings they've had, with how President Prabowo is traveling to different countries trying to sell Indonesia or promote Indonesia to attract investments, with all the agreements we have had, I think it should be working, this money generation part, right? It should be working. Why I say it should be working? If it was not working, Danantra wouldn't survive 1 year plus, right? Because they have to cover a lot of expenses as well. So that means money is coming from somewhere, right? So where is this money coming from? If you say they've taken the profit of the SOEs, but the state-owned enterprise employees are still being paid. None of them are laid off. At least to again, I'm not defending Indonesia or I'm not defending Danantra, but my analysis, which I have seen, I've not seen state-owned employees being put at home. Everybody have a job. That means there's salary being paid. Nobody would work without salary, right? That means the salary is being paid, plus the Danantra operations are covered. So where is this money coming from? That means there is investments from abroad, which is actually coming. So where the third part of this is, where is Danantra heading? I know they will continue to look for investments and partnerships and all those things, but what are their 5-year plans? We all know it's special economic zone, downstreaming, industrialization, critical minerals, agriculture. So that's what they're looking at, right? Now, we can't go into that phase 3 yet and comment anything because we are not there yet. We are at this phase 2, right? We are actually in phase 1 and phase 2, or they are in phase 1 and phase 2, right? Again, see, Danantra is a new toy or is a new thing for Indonesia. We are not used to having a sovereign wealth fund. Secondly, the 2029 is a political election. We are moving towards there. So there is a lot of politics going as well. So this is a new thing for Indonesians. And as for corruption, I did mention earlier, there is going to be more crackdown on corruptions because in order to win investment or investors' confidence, corruption have to be eradicated. So that work is also ongoing, right? As for what we are hearing in the news, I think it's normal under such circumstances. The comments are just a normal comments. It's bound to happen.
Okay. Shanti,
Yeah.
people often talk about the influence of nine dragons. Do you think Indonesia's balance of economic power is really changing?
Very hard to change the balance because the 9 dragons are the ones who built Indonesia's economy for 70, 80 years, right? Most of these companies or some of these companies are that old. The shift of balance, which you are talking about, comes from a new economy value chain, not from the 9 dragons. The 9 dragons are in the primary value chains. Their businesses are in agriculture, food, cooking oil, palm oil, coal, right? The 9 banks, for example. The new dragons or elephants or whatever you want to call them comes from nickel, critical bauxite, tin,
Okay.
data center, downstreaming, a new set of economy or a new set of investment. Are they growing? Yes, because as long as digital economy is growing, this sector will grow, right? Are they bigger than the 9 dragons? No. Because the 9 dragons hold the primary businesses, right? How big will they grow? This new, we call it the new economy demands, which is around critical minerals and IT technology, right? My analysis is it will not grow faster than the primary because the need for tech and critical minerals are slowing down globally. You see some nickel factories closing down, Philippines closed down, nuclear, the bauxite, all these things. So that is a bit of there's an indication of a slowdown there. So how fast and how big can they grow depends on where the global economy takes the demand. Because demand is not generated in Indonesia, it's global, right? The point is people needs to eat every day, people needs to put in their money, the primary dragon businesses are established, set. You can't compromise that. It's a daily livelihood kind of thing. If data center is not there, you can still live without data center. If nickel is not there, you can still live without nickel and all. So there's a new economy that is emerging based on the new demand that is created by the new global elite and the younger generation. And according to our study, even the younger generations have had enough with the technology. Their adoption of technology, they said, we are satisfied with what we have today. We don't need robots or drones to take the spoon and feed us. We can do that, right? So even the younger generations are going towards green economy. They like to be in nature. They're more animal lovers. They like traveling, hiking. They're happy with the handphone that they have today. Do they want to travel with a robot? I don't know. So the new economy is still in the making. It's not taken a full shape. So we can't say where it is heading and whether the players are going to flourish or not, because it has not taken a full shape.
So the economic power, which is concentrated into the hands of small number of conglomerates, is still not being redistributed, right? But on the other hand, Indonesia has been signing a lot of trade agreements. Like you said, India and Indonesia signed close to 37 trade agreements. So does that mean it's mainly about growing the economy, or is it just about global politics?
See, a lot of these agreements or MOUs that has been signed only in the last 2 years maximum, or 1.5 years. But
okay.
Agreements take time to materialize. You can't sign today a big project and boom, tomorrow you see the factory is up and the product is out. There are phases. There are cash flow accounts which people need to put in their money, large investments. To make a factory of the sizes of the MOUs which they sign, the factory itself will take 1 to 2 years, for example, to build, right? Plus, the MOUs or the agreements which they sign needs to be elaborated in detail. That will take another months or sometimes even years of going between the two countries, minister level or director general, right? Negotiation even at that level they will have a negotiation. So again, you can't say, okay, so many MOUs signed, no result. It's been signed just within a period of 1 year. If you look at the economic, comparative, qualitative, quantitative, you do the analysis, you will see the progress. I'll give you an example. Trump started with 100, 200, 300%. So many negotiations went down, 30%, went up again. Is that normal? No. Are the leaders ready for that? No. Because it is not normal. Normally we do it in a more structured manner. Every day you wake up, today is so many percent, tomorrow is so many percent. That is the world we are in today. And I would not blame any leader. Actually, to be a leader of this new world today takes a lot.
I have a follow-up question, Shaanti.
Yeah.
And where do you think Indonesia has the most influence internationally?
I think our geographic location is our biggest influence. Look at how wonderfully the country is placed. South China Sea, Straits of Malacca, Pacific Ocean, this. We are so strategically placed that I think we can take a lot of benefit out of it.
All right, one last question. So what's one decision Indonesia has to get it right for the country to really take the next leap?
Cut down bureaucracy.
All right. Very well answered, Shaanti, and very interesting conversation. And thank you so much for your time and having such an insightful and engaging conversation. It was a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Neha. Likewise.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Durian Dreaming. I hope today's discussion sparked some new ideas for you. Don't forget to subscribe, share your thoughts, and stay tuned for more exciting stories. Until next time, keep dreaming big.